Hello and welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. In today's video, I want to discuss the religious inspiration behind Raised by Wolves. Now, this isn't going to be just one video. I'm going to be doing a few videos on this because today we're going to be looking at Adam and Eve and some theories surrounding that and the higher power of soul. But it's not actually just Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve is the just very basic surface level of what Ridley Scott and the writer of Raised by Wolves are potentially injecting into this series. And you'll find that out in another video that I do because, again, Adam and Eve is the perhaps most obvious religious similarity, and it's painfully obvious, in fact, but there is another one which is potentially more interesting that we will get into. So if you want to stay tuned for that, then please do hit subscribe. Don't forget to turn those bell notifications on because otherwise YouTube won't let you know. And also, please do share it because I'm going to be getting back to a few more of these videos, and you know, the more that get shared, the more it tells me that you enjoy the video. Anyway, so in today's video, we're going to be talking about Adam and Eve and the sort of similarities in Raised by Wolves. Now, we are going to be talking full spoilers, obviously. These are all theories. These are my theories, and I'm sure a lot of people share them, but hopefully we want to dive into it and have a place where we can all discuss it in the comments below. But again, full spoilers. So please do click off the video if you don't want any spoilers for the Season 1 finale of Raised by Wolves. So, in the previous episode to the finale, in episode 9, we were left off with Mother about to give birth. Okay, we knew that she was about to give birth. It was very, very close anyway. And they were looking to not move it elsewhere during this birthing process. And that was picked up in this latest episode. We had the young boy Paul's attempt to sabotage the little dropship and Mother potentially moving anywhere else to give birth to her baby. Now that's important because I want to touch on that in a minute. But of course, that didn't, that basically worked out, and yes, Mother did actually give birth to her child, I guess you could call it, on that part of the planet. Now again, that's really important because when we're talking about Adam and Eve, we need to know where they actually ended up. Now what came out of her was a bioorganic life form. It was half organic and half synthetic. We knew that because of what she was saying on the lead up to it. It was feeding on plasma, but also the dark photon energy. And it was a serpent. It was birthed as a bit of a snake, basically, that grew to an immense size really, really quickly. And we can say that obviously it's probably related to the other snakes that are there on the planet. But again, we'll save that for another video. Now, how this pertains to Adam and Eve. Okay, well, everything has pointed to Mother being the progenitor to the race, to a new future human race, the future of mankind. And apparently, that baby is that future. So it would appear that this is kind of a dark retelling of Adam and Eve, in this sense anyway. And again, there's going to be another video where I touch on another religious story or mythological trope that this is actually being pulled from as well. But Mother and Father are essentially Adam and Eve. Now the reason why we're going to explore Adam and Eve here is because of where they end up. Now she gives birth to the creature, which clearly has dark photon energy. It clearly has her powers, and it begins suckling on her milk, her synthetic milk. And then she realizes that it's death and destruction. Once it has fed on her, it's going to turn on the children. Absolutely. Of course it is. Why would it not? So she finds herself close to the lander, the dropship, and her attempt is to go and kill it. Or she was going to jump down the hole anyway. Now, Father obviously turns up and says, "No, we're not going to be doing that. I want to help you. I'm going to pilot this lander, and I'm going to crash us into the core of the planet." Now, remember, Paul was informed by Soul, this dark photon god, that the baby must be born in this part of the planet. It has to be born here, or where they were. Why is that? Because when they go through the core of the planet and out the other side, they end up on the tropical zone, a lush Garden of Eden. And then the snake gets loose. So potentially it looks like the soul of this dark photon god was trying to get the baby, the progenitor to the future of the species, born in darkness into this dark world rather than the tropical zone. So that's the representation of the Garden of Eden right there. Now the other side of it is that you could say that the snake now ending up in the Garden of Eden versus being born there means that it is born to be evil and is now in the Garden of Eden to spread original sin, or to spread sin or hate and destruction, however you want to frame it. But it must have been born first in the dark side of the planet for that to occur. That's what it potentially signifies to me. Anyway, that's my theory, is that the dark photon god had to get the baby born on that dark side of the planet. Because if it was born in the tropical zone, it potentially wouldn't have been evil. Again, that's my theory. Now the other side of this is, of course, that it is very clear-cut, an Adam and Eve story. You have mother and father, progenitors of a new species, a new creation in some form or another. And then they end up in the tropical zone, the Garden of Eden. Mother was told that she would be the future of mankind, of the race, and obviously, you know, the lowly life forms of Campion and such were merely just practice. And now, hey, by happenstance, they are now in the Garden of Eden with their child, being the future of whatever weird, wicked race the dark photon god was looking to spawn. Now again, that goes nicely into the Garden of Eden story and original sin and things like this. Is a creature that is born in darkness. Does it experience sin? Is it indoctrinated into sin? Is it bathed in sin from birth? Versus being born in a lush green tropical zone, an Eden. Would it have been inflicted or affected, exposed to sin at that point in time? Or would it have been nice and happy and loving, not a destructive giant serpent snake? Potentially. There's a lot to be said for all of that. Now, of course, there is an interesting discussion to be had with respect to mother and father somehow gaining emotions and things being twisted and happening in reverse. But we'll touch on that in another video and in another theory video. But what do you guys think about what's been proposed here? Do you see some similarities to the Adam and Eve story? And again, I know that there's actually larger similarities to another mythology and sort of philosophical story, which I'm going to dive into, which I think actually this combined with that builds up a bigger picture to what we're actually looking at here. But I will wait with some bated breath for season 2. It'll be interesting to see how it all comes together. But let me know your thoughts on this down below in the comment section. If you're new here, then hey, please do hit subscribe. It would mean the world to me. But I really want you guys to chuck your theories down below. Do you see any similarities? Where do you think they're going with it? Very clearly these snakes have inhabited the planet. Very clearly this has happened before. The dodecahedrons everywhere, the skull, all of these things. It's all very clear cut, a process which is being ritualistically laid out to either a form of humanoids, mankind, or other such forth. But I do think there's a reversal role happening here on the planet. Things regressing, things progressing, things evolving when perhaps they shouldn't, things happening that shouldn't be happening. It's almost like an upside down world on either side of the planet. And it also, again, because of course, mother and father going through the core and somehow dying but then being reborn, which is another story and another theory video, because they definitely did die, but they're alive again. So there's a lot to be said for that. Did the children, or did the child that fell down the well, did it die and then come back? But did it come back different? Because again, it seems that's the case anyway. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you're new here, do hit subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Mr. H. Take care.